Hi guys, it's Emily, and I'm trying to get back into filming videos more regularly, so I thought I would start by doing really brief wrap-ups of the 3 months of reading that I've done since I last filmed a wrap-up. So that's August, September, and October. So today's gonna be August, and I'm just gonna run through the books I read in August very quickly, not give much detail. If you want any more detail, feel free to comment, and I can, give you some more detail in the comments. I got my list of books that I read, so let's just get right into it. I first want to talk about Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking by Susan Cain. I actually finished this book on July 31st, and I mentioned it in my booktubeathon wrap up, but when I filmed that, I just started it, so I wasn't done. So anyway, really quickly, it's a nonfiction book about introverts and this how introverts differ from extroverts and what introverts bring to the table in business and in relationships and in things like that. And the part that I found most interesting about this book was there was a section at the very start where they sort of talk about how extrovertism became sort of the preferred way of being, and it has to do with the Industrial Revolution. People were moving into towns where they had no family connection and no connection at all, and they were competing for jobs in a way that they'd never done before, and so they had to become, more outgoing and more willing to work to get a job, and so extrovertism became more appealing, and that part I found really interesting. And then the rest of the book is more about psychological studies and things like that show the differences between introverts and extroverts. Now, a lot of people have really loved this book. I heard about it from Anne at Modern Mrs. Darcy a while ago. It's one of her favorite nonfiction books, and I liked it, but I didn't love it like a lot of people did, but I did find it interesting, and I could see myself rereading some of it. Like, there's a part about what to do if you have an introvert, if you have an extroverted spouse and you're an introvert, and I could see myself reading that if I ever married an extrovert or had an extrovert kid or whatever. So it was pretty interesting, and I'm glad that I read it. And it's had been on my TBR since 2014, so I was glad to get it off my TBR as well. The first book that I finished in August was We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and this is just a really short book. I read it on a bus ride on my way home from work one night, and it's just a short little manifesto about feminism and why men should be involved in the cause of feminism. It's based on a TED Talk that Chimamanda did, so, it's written like a speech because it is a speech. It's a really short book, but I found it really interesting, and I could definitely see myself rereading it again, and I would highly encourage anybody that wants to learn, who doesn't know that much about feminism, because it's sort of like the very basics of feminism and why you should get involved in feminism. So it's a very quick read, and I highly recommend it. The next book I read was Yours Ever, People and Their Letters by Thomas Mallon. And I'd read Thomas Mallon's other book, which is about diaries, a diary of one's own. And I really enjoyed that book, and I had put this book on my TBR right after I read that book, and it counted for my letter Z prompt in my A to Z challenge that I'm doing. And this is just about letters that people write, and it's divided up into different categories. So there's a chapter on love letters, there's a chapter on letters written in prison, there's a chapter on suicide notes and things like that. So it's just about all the different kinds of letters people write, and it gives example of famous people writing letters like love letters or whatever that fits the theme of the chapter. So I really enjoyed it. I love letters. I love reading letters. I think letters are a great way to learn more about celebrities or important figures, because most of the time they're not trying to make it better like they are with their public writings. They're writing to their friends or their families or people they admire or whatever. So you get to learn a little bit about who they really are. And I really enjoyed letters. So I really enjoyed this book, and I would recommend this. And fun fact, my library had this book for like 6 years, and I was the first person to ever check it out in 6 years. So I saved it from the weeding pile for another year. Yay! So yeah, that was a really good book, and I recommend it if you like letters. The next book I read was Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, and this was a historical fiction about the last woman to ever be executed in Iceland in the late 1800s, I believe, and she's executed because she helped kill a man that she was living in. They think she was his lover. I guess that hasn't really been proven, but in the book they are lovers. So, and it's based on real life testimony and like diaries that were written by people that lived at that time. And this book went around BookTube for a while, but I actually put it on my TBR after Valerie at Val Reads mentioned that it's also about the people that the murderess has lived with, and I didn't really know that. I thought it was sort of going to be about like her crime, or more like a crime thriller, and it's not really like that. It's more about how after she's been sentenced to die, she lives with this family in the middle of nowhere Iceland, like very rural Iceland, and it's more about how she sort of strikes up a bond with this family, and they sort of get to, like, they don't become like super close, but they sort of reach an understanding. And it's also about her relationship with the priest that's named her confessor, and how they become close, and how he gets her to talk a little bit about like what happened and why she killed this guy and all that stuff. So I found it really fascinating, and I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a literary fiction novel that's set in a cold climate. It might be a good winter read because it is set in Iceland, and it's a very dreary setting, and it makes you very depressed. Although maybe that's not the best. Maybe that's not the best winter read if you're already depressed in winter. Maybe you should wait till the summer like I did, and it sort of cools you down when you're in 90-degree weather. But anywho, I enjoyed that book as well. I then read When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon, and this was actually my disappointment of the month. I read this specifically based on the recommendation of several booktubers who highlighted Dimple as this like really great female character who was into coding, and like they talked about how this was a different kind of YA book, and how it was like female empowerment. Y'all, I don't know what book those people read, but this was not any different than any YA romance that I've read before. Dimple is really into coding for about 10 seconds at the start of the book, and once she and Rishi fall in love, there's like barely any mention of the coding aspect in the rest of the book. So I was super disappointed with this book. I don't want to get into it because I'm trying to keep this short, but basically I do not recommend this book unless you already really love YA. If you're not a YA person like me, I'm not a YA person, I don't read it very often, I don't recommend it because I feel like the advertising on this book is very misleading, and I don't understand those booktubers who called it this like female empowerment thing, because it is not, okay y'all? Sorry. End of rant. Let's move on to the next book. Okay. The next book I read was A Man Called Uva by Fredrik Backman, and this has been going around BookTube and the real world. Y'all know what it's about, but it was a great book. It was really sweet. Uva is this old guy who is like really grumpy and really concerned about like the letter of the law, even when it's like not that important. And his Indian, or no, she's not Indian. Iranian. He got an Iranian neighbor who moves in, and they become friends, and it's about how he sort of gains a family with this Iranian woman and her husband and their children. So it's a really sweet book, y'all. I highly recommend it. I also watched the movie version, which is really cute, and I recently read that Tom Hanks is making like a remake of it, so it's really good. I would recommend this book. It was really sweet, and Fredrik Backman is an author I would really like to read a little bit more of later on down the line. I then read Jacobi by William Ritter. This is another YA book, but this is a mystery book. I read this based on the recommendation of Felicia over at Little Prairie Library. She called it a combination of Doctor Who and Sherlock, and I love Doctor Who, and I used to love Sherlock before season 4 came and made it really bad. Anyway, Jacobi is this mystery about a young girl, Abigail, who comes over from England to America, and she's sort of running away from her, like, high society life, and she meets Jacobi, and Jacobi is basically Sherlock, like, modern-day Sherlock based, set in, Victorian times. So basically it's like Victorian Sherlock, again, but it's more based on, like, the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock. Anyway, this is sort of, they're solving a mystery about, like, some spirits that are floating around, and I don't really know what's causing the spirits, and I don't want to spoil anything, but, of course, it's not really spirits. Spoiler alert, sorry. Anywho, this was okay. I didn't love it, and I don't really think I'm going to read the rest of the series anytime soon, but it was cute, and it was a great way to pass some time. Yeah, it's just your standard YA, like, mystery story with some supernatural elements thrown in. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that one. I read A Piece of the World by Christina Baker Kline. I read this because my mom got it out of the library to read, and she was like, "You need to read this." This is about Christina, who is the famous painting by Andrew White. I'll put it right here so you can see. And it's the story of the main girl in the picture. And she's got this disability where she can't walk very well. And there's a big fancy name for it that I can't remember now. But she lives out in Maine, in this like really rural part of Maine. And this painter, Andrew White, comes along and befriends her and eventually paints her picture, and it's sort of her life story, and it's also the what happens after the painting becomes famous, and it was good. I really enjoyed it. I know Conrad from 7 Days at Sea, who now no longer makes videos, really raved about this book and liked it, but like I said, I didn't necessarily pick it up based on his recommendation. I picked it up because my mom had read about it somewhere and really loved it and wanted me to read it as well. It's a literary fiction story as well. I would recommend it if you're looking for a really great historical fiction novel that really pulls you into the world and is based on a real life event. I then read Americanah by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and this is a pretty famous book. I mean, it's been going around BookTube and in the real world for a while. I've had this on my TBR since 2014 when my cousin's wife recommended it over Christmas dinner, and I finally got around to it in August because I'm in a group on Goodreads where we do buddy reads, and we have a partner, and the two of you pick a book from your TBR and read it. And so my partner and I in August chose Americanah, and my partner was an Indian guy, and so we had the issue of being two different genders and then being two different nationalities. So we both saw this book in very different ways. I ended up not liking it very much because of things that happened at the end. I liked it really well until the end, and then I felt sort of like it seemed like it went back on its principles or something. And then it was kind of weird because I wanted to discuss like the feminist aspects of the book with my partner, and he was like, "I don't really see it as being feminist." And I was like, "What? Isn't FMA Lou supposed to be like a feminist person? I mean, it seems like she would be." And I don't know. But if you haven't heard about this book, it's about Efemelu and Obins, and they're two people growing up in Nigeria. And then Efemelu, sorry, I'm looking at my written out pronunciation of it, goes to America, but Obins is sent to London, and he's an illegal person in London, while Efemelu is, she's got like a student visa, and so it's showing the differences in their experiences, and then it shows what happened when they meet up again in Nigeria at the end of the book. And I liked it, and honestly, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is a great writer, but like I said, the ending sort of disappointed me, and I wasn't like super excited about that, but it was still a great read, and I'm glad I finally read it just so I know what people are talking about. And clearly I like Chimamanda and Ngozi and Adichie's writing because I read 2 of her works in 1 month. So yeah, that's all I read in August, and I'll be back pretty soon to share my September and my October, really condensed wrap-ups. I hope everybody's having a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!